Start with Ukraine's very bad time. It's been bad time. And again, not an expert on geopolitics. Spoken about this before, especially geopolitical predictions or military predictions. And thank Allah for that, because quite frankly, a lot of people have made them and then look silly. So I'm glad I'm not one of them. And we will just go through what we can find. Again, misinformation abound. It's a war. Please no bully. Please no shoot. We will do our best. So we'll start off with some memes, because of course, we'll start off with a living meme, of course, being Miles, who was there. And this is him posting, I think it was last night when they were being shelled in Kiev. And he's just like, oh, the lights just went out. How fun. And then there's a picture of him with the thumbs up, because it's Miles. If we continue, we can see some actual memes from Ukrainians there, of course, as well. This is a Ukrainian politician who decided to tweet out this image of him in uniform and then with his little badge there of the Imperial Inquisition from 40k, which faith in the Emperor, of course.
I wonder if he knows what that is.
I presume so. I presume he's having a good time with that.
Right.
If we continue, we can see footage on the ground of what is meant to be, or at least at the time over the weekend, was meant to be saboteurs that were found throughout Ukrainian territory. At least the Ukrainians are saying they are. If we go to the next one, we can see more of these people. And there should be a different link in there. Yeah, we are. So you can see more of these people being arrested or neutralized, as being said. I don't know. Just that's the situation with that. If we continue, we can see some Western responses. So if we start with Slovakia, who have decided that they're going to send tons of ammo, apparently, to try and support the war, or at least that was the case a couple of days ago. That's Western support. But if we go forward, we can see some other Western responses, starting off with Australia, which decided to ban Russian today, because...
Yes, so did the whole of the EU, I believe.
Yeah. So because it's Russian funded, therefore we're going to ban the channel. Al Jazeera, not so much. Radio, make perfect sense. At least be consistent on these matters, you would have thought. Also, I don't really know what the damage is doing when you're just looking at news. Like,
there was an amazing take on the first day of the invasion. Someone saying, Russia today is promoting a pro-Russian view on this conflict. And it's like, yeah, of course it is.
I am absolutely shooketh.
Right, that's what it's there for. I mean, yeah, a lot of it's going to be nonsense and lies and literal propaganda. Yeah. But sometimes you can get some information out of that.
Al Jazeera, or AJ Plus on the internet, is funded by the Qataris and will tell you that Islam did nothing wrong. Like, again, I'm fine with these things existing because, well...
Yeah, and CNN, by the way, anyway.
If we go to the next one, we can see some other responses. So you can see US and Canada decided that they were going to get rid of Russian vodka from their shelves, apparently. There was a whole bunch of footage of people doing this. Some people doing it to vodka that isn't even Russian. It's like Latvian vodka, and they're just pouring it down the drain. I'm like, good job. Yeah, all right, thought that through. But that's a kind of... let's say, mini sanction you could do on your own if you wanted to. If we continue, we can see a bigger sanction, though. Pornhub. Pornhub have taken action. Apparently, if you try and sign on to Pornhub in the Russian Federation, you can't get in. You have to be reduced to the crippling poverty that is signing up to X-Hamster or some other such site. If we go to the next one, there is, of course, Twitter.com decided to take action and no longer allowing people to register accounts in the Federation. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is not a punishment. This is a blessing.
Honestly, yeah. This is an anti-sanction, this is.
Oh, so...
But if you can see the top comment there, this blows. Not only is our government trying to suppress people's voices, but now corpos are at it too. I mean, absolutely right.
Yeah, random Russian people can't sign. Good job. You've still got Putin's account and all the government accounts, but, you know, new rando who wants to sign up, nah. Okay. Right. If you go to the next one, we can also see the frontline map of the situation, at least as best reported. So I decided to use the Institute for the Study of War this one because they just seem the most accurate. It's a little bit behind, but whatever. And as you can see, on the outskirts of the capital, taking a whole bunch of territory, don't look great. So not looking good there. Keep that in mind as we go forward. If we go to the next one, I also wanted to mention I saw that the Chechens had turned up, which very funny. At least I find it funny.
BBC Russia?
Oh, I had to use BBC Russia for the Russian outlet for a source on this because in here, not only have the Chechens turned up, but the BBC got audio of, Kadyrov talking to other officials before the invasion about the invasion. So it's nice to know that they all knew as well.
Well, they would have done, the scale that it was and the number of people involved.
Of course.
So it's nice to get the audio.
If we go continue, we can see of them all screaming Allahu Akbar in Belarus before they went in. There is reports that like a whole bunch of them have been killed. I don't know. Not going to say because, again, it's in the middle of fog of war, misinformation.
We know that they were engaged in combat in Hostomel, north of Kiev from, I think, day 2, day 3. So they are involved. And
I don't know if you can hit view on that, because as you can see, this is a tweet that has violated Twitter's rules for hateful conduct, and Twitter has kept it about. This one here, this is the National Guard of Ukraine dipping bullets in pig fat to send Kadyrov's orcs, as they call them, the Chechen Muslims, who have come here to fight, to hell, because if you get shot with pig fat bullocks, then you go not to paradise, but instead to Shaitan. Or at least that's what's going on there.
Well, that's their interpretation of Islam. I doubt it's that strict.
I actually don't know if this is against the Geneva Convention or rules of war or anything, because it is just psychological warfare. Because for us who don't believe in religion, then it's it's just okay. It probably is going to jam your gun.
Well, do you remember in the Syrian conflict there was all this talk about Muslims believe that if they get shot by a woman in the Rojava, then they'll go to hell and all of this, that, and the other. I've never actually heard that except from military propaganda. I don't believe that's part of Islam. I don't think there are prescriptions on that, but obviously you can let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, let us know what's going on with this. But this is what is happening, and the National Guard of Ukraine did decide to tweet this out, which of course has caused a lot of upset
but it's not just the National Guard of Ukraine, of course. This is the Azov Brigade, which is, as far as we know, notorious neo-Nazis in Ukraine. So, pick a side, but oh my God, they're both terrible. In this case, not all Ukrainian military units are like this, but this one is. And they've got loads of footage. They're mainly based around Mariupol, as far as I can ascertain, which is a city in the south of Ukraine.
I have seen these descriptions of, the undesirable brigades or undesirable people, of course, engaging in war, and it's a war. So they're, the Northern Alliance and the Taliban weren't good guys.
But there is a question as to how there are so many of them and such large formations in Ukraine at this point, given that they have also been seen as far back as 2013 in the Euromaidan and so on.
They've been organising because Ukraine needs defence, presumably, and they're letting any old thing in. Or at least that's what I would assume.
I don't think that's quite the right reading.
But
I think it's too complicated to get into for the second.
We go to the next one. Also, just a funny thing to mention, which apparently there are some Islamist forces also fighting with the Ukrainians, which means Allah is playing both sides, brothers.
Yes, so there are Chechen guerrillas who are very anti-Putin, and so obviously Chechnya is split. The Chechenian jihadis are more likely to come to fight for Ukraine, whereas the Chechenian establishment, Kadyrov's lot, will fight for Putin.
So crack out the Allahu Akbar music and we'll have a lesson. We go to the next link, we can see Putin also saying he put nukes on standby because okay, kind of worried about that, but okay, but presumably not going to use them, just him talking.
Well, there have been about 3 stages where he said this. The first was in his speech on Monday last week, where he says that they will use I can't remember the exact quote, but he hints that they will retaliate strongly at any external involvement, i.e. NATO. Then on his speech on the eve of war, he said he would create, repercussions as you've never before seen, which is another direct threat. And now he's come out and directly said that he's activating Russia's strategic deterrence. And his claim is in response to the massive NATO support of Ukraine during this war. We also must remember that NATO has had nuclear-capable bombers circling Europe over the skies of Europe since this conflict started. So yes, things are moving on the nuclear front. No one is talking about it. Hopefully we're not sleepwalking into Armageddon by proxy.
I imagine not. No one's that silly. I mean, no one has ever been that silly.
We said that in the lead up to this invasion even happening because we haven't
nuclear
seen
war
this
is obviously a much different example. Than
it's a different conversation, but we shouldn't be complacent here.
No, but it's. I don't think it's as bad as some people are making out. But if we continue, we can also just see more of what has taken place. So this is Visegrad, the account for the Visegrad group on Twitter, who just have been tweeting out obviously quite a lot of pro-Ukrainian stuff or stories. And this is one of them saying on the Polish-Ukrainian border, Ukrainian men escort their women and children to Poland before returning east to the front because the Ukrainian border guards will say no. Like
they're not letting men leave the country.
You're not allowed to leave. That's how that works.
They're being conscripted, and thrown into the fighting, as far as we can tell.
Go to the next link. We can also see a friend of ours, or at least Slovak border guard, who I've mentioned, has been sending me pictures and whatnot. And it's nice to see here. Like if you can click on these images, John, so we can get them a little bit bigger. He sent me these, and it's just nice in a weird way, of course, to see refugees for once in refugees. Like actual women and children, people who are fleeing a conflict that is right on the border, going to the first safe country and then settling in. And not hordes of fighting age men 5 countries borders away from this first safe nation. 5
20.
alone.
Yeah. We reported recently like about 90% of the men coming in the rubber dinghies are men of fighting age. They're not refugees. This is what refugees look
50% were Iranian.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, there's no war. So look, if you're gay, then you can get to other places easier, surely. And that's the situation with that, which is you can actually see some refugees. So nature is healing, lads. We are the virus. I don't know. But it's interesting, of course, because you see a response from a country that is actually being militaristic in its outlook, militaristic society instead of I don't know, diversity and inclusion society or whatever. And you can see some other examples of this. So this is some pictures of the former president, some corrupt guy apparently. I don't know, I don't care. But he's in uniform here, has donated some guns. If we go to the next one, we can also see supposedly the picture of the president there in uniform. Don't spoil it. So this is him there. Staying in Kiev, and he has stayed in Kiev. So, actually have some fortitude there. They haven't just gotten a plane and disappeared with all the cash, like a lot of others.
Yeah, absolutely.
But of course, this is an old photo, and there are a lot of old photos.
Yes.
A lot of misinformation about the whole situation. We mentioned this in our first section that we did about it. And this is why I decided a few days ago just to go and check out the Moscow side of the story.
Okay.
So just log on to Pravda and see what they were reporting on. And here are the headlines from the major newspaper in Moscow. So the first one is residents of liberated villages of Donbass. We have been waiting for this for 8 years. Okay. If we go to the next one, we can see other headlines saying, don't let your children, your wives, and old people be used as human shields, says Putin. And if we go to the next one, we can see Ukrainian military lay down arms on the island of serpents.
Yes, Snake Island.
And if we go to the last one, we have photos and video from liberated villages. So this is the Moscow side of press reporting, let's say. And this is why I'm a bit mad about the ban of Russia today.
Yeah.
Because this isn't proper.
No.
It's good to be able to see all the information, even if it is...
The whole Western media has gone into war mode as well. They're very pro-Ukraine, and obviously you can understand why, but there is nothing coming out of the other side, and it is good to at least hear what the other side is saying, even if it's propaganda.
Yeah, there's also the whole point of, well, we never actually guaranteed Ukraine's independence or made them members of NATO, so we have no commitments. Like, Russia is going to...
We have been pouring lots of weapons and military advisors in for years.
But that's not... We are definitely like, we must die for this nation situation.
Right.
It's not like
we have
members of
plausible
NATO.
deniability.
Yeah. There is a third position other than just like endlessly screaming about Ukraine or Russia.
Yeah.
Which is just be like, well, there's a war and we can think about what to do in response. But that doesn't seem to be taking place. There is also on Pravda's website something funny I wanted to show. So if we go to the next one, don't know if you can load it up. It's not... Is it there? I don't think it's coming up on your screen, John, because I don't know if you translate it. But don't worry. Anyway, but there's if you go to the main website, if you go at home, you'll be able to see there's a yellow logo, like one of the tabs at the top, that just says like special operations. And it's just like, okay. That's I love that is the term that is being used. It is very funny. If we go to the next link, we can also see the response, or at least from Russian outlets. So you can see TASS here saying, Zelensky accepts Putin's proposal, ready for peace talks. Not this floating around in Western sources, or at least hasn't been up until extremely this morning.
I managed to find something on it last night, but essentially there were discussions about where they would have these negotiations. Originally, they were going to take place in Belarus, but of course, Ukraine said no, Belarus is a party to the conflict. Russia's literally invading through Belarus. So they suggested a number of other cities, including like Bratislava, Budapest, and so on. And then as a compromise, they agreed to, I believe, with no preconditions, so no ceasefire, meet at a point on the Belarus-Ukraine border, diplomats from both sides, and discuss negotiations, which the US State Department came out against because they said, no, as a precondition for any negotiations or peace talks, Russia must unilaterally withdraw.
Which, no, that's not going to happen. Don't be silly. So this is him back at the time saying he's refused allegations, he's refused to have talks, and instead he will have them and will accept Russian president's proposal for a ceasefire. At least this was reported in TASS at the time. And I only found this out from going and checking out the Russian sources because this wasn't being reported in the West. Which again, okay, there's problems with foreign sources in a war, of course, but there is also information to be found. If we go to the next one, we can see the most modern news on this. So as you mentioned, they agreed to have talks on the Belarusian-Ukraine border in some area that is not occupied. And if we go to the next one, we can see footage, or at least this is meant to be today, of both sides sitting down with the little flags and bottles of water to have a chat and see where that goes. And then they kicked out all the journalists. So, anti-journalist action. Very cool, I must admit. I'm not a fan.
Like, the adults need to stand up in the room and actually solve this problem and save lives rather than journalists being there trying to get a few hits for their Twitter profile.
How do I gin up more war talk? I was like, okay, just get out. So there's this. I don't know where it'll go. I don't know if the Russians will win. I don't know if Ukraine will capitulate tomorrow because the capital's invaded.
I think peace and everyone wins. A few border alterations. Like, if the two sides are actually talking to each other and settling this problem, that's good. If external forces are coming in and meddling with the future of this region, that's bad.
I don't know. I'm not going to make predictions or any talk
but,
on what's going on.
I just wish peace the best chance.
Anyone can agree to that. But if we go to the next link, because this is also the aspect, you may have seen this meme. I did, because it was funny. And as you can see here, it's the "Don't Step on Me" snick with Ukrainian flag and then "Idi nakhoi" in the background, which is the speech that was given to the Russian warships. Go F yourself. And if we go to the next link, we can see Moscow's newspapers, or at least Pravda again, saying that this was complete fake news. Remember, they were all killed. Apparently not, according to the Russians. Again, I had to go and find this out from the Russian sources, saying that no, they actually surrendered. We took them to Sevastopol, and then we're sending them back. Could be propaganda from Russia.
I think the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense did confirm this on day 2.
To get to that, yes. So if we go to the next link, you can see other Russian sources reporting this. And then if we go to the next one, you can see Visegrad suddenly saying that, oh, wait, they might all be alive. And we go to the next one, we have some footage and the admittance from the Ukrainian National Defense guy saying that, yeah, okay, this doesn't seem to have been the case. They have surrendered. Another perfect example of the fog of war in this whole situation.
Well, the fog of war plus Twitter disinformation equals nonsense.
Of course. If we go to the next links as well, I want to talk about some other funny things, which I don't know if they're true or not. Don't care. It's just hilarious. So this one starting off with the Ghost of Kiev. I have no idea if this is even true at this point. I'm just going to ignore it. Again, just don't know. So make up your own minds. But this is a funny post I saw that people were throwing around. The Ghost of Kiev is confirmed to be a pansexual transgender woman. And then a load of people being like, yes, queen. Isn't this great? He's knocking out those homophobic, transphobic Russian bigots from the sky. Okay. If we go to the next one, we can see other reporting on this. For Miles, for example, saying the Ghost of Kiev is a disabled trans non-binary woman, by the way. Why not? Just make up any nonsense, because nonsense doesn't seem to be stopped at this point. If we go to the next one, we can see the funniest of nonsense in this regard, which is some guy made a meme saying that the Ghost of Kiev was Samuel Hyde. And this guy, some verified checkmark, decided to retweet this, being like, the Ghost of Kiev has a name and has absolutely owned the Russian Air Force. Godspeed. More kills. Samuel. Stop. Just stop.
But the level to which Western media is just uncritically parroting every pro-Ukrainian nonsense story that comes out to the extent of literal meme magic.
Literal memes are being believed as true.
Yeah.
Because some people can't stop themselves for 5 minutes. And apparently this checkmark, I'm not familiar with him enough, but he has been calling for a no-fly zone on media to be taking place in Ukraine.
So he wants NATO intervention in Ukraine.
Great, yes.
Great,
I can't think of anything better. Why don't we just get involved and create more chaos? Okay, whatever. I don't want to dive Kiev. We get to the next one. We can see also, as John points out, some of the funny aspects of this, which is it's a choose your own adventure. So we have on the left captured Ukrainians, have on the right captured Russians, and then on the right captured Ukrainians. Pick your own version, pick your own war.
This reminds me of those old spot the difference games.
Yeah. How do you know? I don't. But this is the thing. The misinformation abound is so ridiculous that this is why I'm not trying to make a comment on such things, because. Good luck. You've got to know what you're talking about immensely, apparently, or at least more than most people. If we go to the other Western responses, I will quickly go through just to mention them, which is this video popped back up, so you can see an all-time Biden campaign moment from 2019. Imagine what can happen in Ukraine if Trump is re-elected.
Peace.
Are you imagining? Should we play Imagine in the background?
Imagine people's houses not being blown apart by shell fire.
I also know that we can only be saved now by the celebrities singing Imagine. Imagine if Trump was in charge. Yeah. So we go to the next one. We can also see some other sanctions. So this is countries that have banned Russian aircraft from their airspace, which is pretty big.
The whole of Europe, basically. I mean, Switzerland hasn't, but that doesn't really matter, does it, looking at that map?
No, I feel like the Swiss don't make... Unless they're going to space and then back down or something. It's not going to matter. I saw people also complaining about Norway not doing it. I was like, again, does it matter? I don't think so. But there you are. That's the response there, or at least a response. If we continue, I did see a friend of mine, Mark, decided he would send sunflowers to the Russian embassy in London as a protest, because he has ties to Slovakia and whatnot, and is very upset with what's going on.
Right.
This is, for people who don't know, it's a reference to a lady who gave sunflower seeds, or tried to a Russian soldier, saying that at least when you die, something will grow out your corpse. So it has become a form of protest to send sunflower seeds to Russians, apparently. So that is something else that is taking place. Let's go to the next one, just for some other stuff, because people were mentioning about the oil. We could just go to Saudi Arabia and make them bob it out. The Saudis have told us to F off. Apparently.
But there's some surprising news out of Saudi Arabia, because in the middle of all of this, they've announced they've discovered, I think it's 5 massive natural gas fields. They're just, oh yeah, we've just discovered this just now, and you're thinking,
Yeah, but there's also the aspect of like, oh, we don't need Russian oil, we can go to Saudi Arabia. It's like, why don't you just make your own? Like, I'm sorry, but like we all remember, none of us forget what happened immediately after Biden came to office and decided to go full war on gas and oil.
shut down the Keystone pipeline.
I mean, I tweeted just before we started some like graph of just U.S. production. It's just like Biden gets into office, just nosedives. Doesn't need to. It's a completely policy decision.
Right.
And well, okay, we have a shortage of oil thanks to this. Make some more.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny how
down to go
Germany
begging to the Saudis every time.
Germany refusing to certify Nord Stream 2 is a major strategic international geopolitical blah blah blah. But Biden cancelling the Keystone pipeline is just good for the environment.
Yeah, or banning all fracking on government-owned land for however long he feels.
Yeah.
That's just good for the environment. Again, if you go to the next one, I can also see that I saw the Ukrainian account was tweeting out you could donate cryptocurrency. And this is an interesting response because, of course, the Ukrainian currency and the Russian currency are doing all kinds of things. So they were getting Bitcoin and Ethereum instead. And apparently they've got, $3.4 million in Ethereum and $700,000 in Bitcoins.
Yeah.
No.
There was also someone saying that they'd basically fled Ukraine to Kazakhstan, and obviously all of their Ukrainian cards stopped working. So the only way they're able to survive is by using cryptocurrency. So
There we have it.
that's another good reason for it.
Proven that it actually works. And I thought we'd own this off because that's all the news that I have for that. It's a situation. God knows if they're going to be capitulating tomorrow in those talks or not. But let's end with a meme because let's try and smile throughout the horror. And we'll have this Carl Rittenhouse meme. But did he cross state lines?
I think in this case we could say definitively that yes, he did.
He did indeed cross those state lines.
And I think he had maybe more than one assault rifle.
Why was he so far from home with all the tanks? There's that. Anyway, that's Ukraine's very bad time. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to subscribe and get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this video. This is a premium video, The Politics of Watchmen, which John Wheatley and Harry did together. Now, if you'd like to find out what else John's up to, you can follow him on Getter at John Wheatley on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.